Good day. Today is 29th of May 2022. The time is 3 o'clock in the morning. And today, now I thought of doing the second part of my lecture on the history of Sri Lanka. I explained everything up to 8,000 years ago in the first lecture. And what happened was, by that time, the by the time we separated completely, the people of Sri Lanka had their gene changed from the South Indian chain, and the people were super brainy or brilliant, and we had kings. They built the rock fortress of Sigiriya those days, and then around 7,000 years ago we had our great king Ravana. And Ravana, there's a legend about he had his machine to fly, but Ravana is a great king for making tunnels. So even today, if you want any information about the tunneling skills of this great King Ravana, uh, there are people who can give you the information, and to get that information, you have to contact Dr. Deepal Suryarachi. And Dr. Deepal Suryarachi was 1 year junior to me at Ananda College, and his elder brother was my batchmate, engineer Harsha Suryarachi, who was once the chairman of Water Board in 2005 or 2006 era. And Harsha went more into politics, whereas Deepal stayed in Russia. He did his PhD at the Moscow University, Lumba University, and he was in Russia for 20 years. And now he works very closely with me, and his telephone number is 0777 654 810. And why you contact Dr. Deepal Suryarachi is not, not that he knows the history, but he knows the person who knows the history. And he's a Buddhist. He's a mechanical engineer, railway engineer. Again, he's even older than me, about 7 years older than me. He's born in 1955 or 56, I think, and he's 65-year-old Anuradhapura Amatadamma Hemi, and he's a mechanical engineer, and he's a railway engineer who worked for Sri Lanka Railways. And then he came from Russia after doing MSc and BSc and MSc, and he used to do a lot of meditation those days at various locations, especially the locations associated with the legend of Ravana. And so he knows a lot about it. And then he read for his PhD at University of New South Wales, and then then he worked in Australia, and then he resigned from his post. He came to Sri Lanka and started meditating, and while his wife and daughter stayed in Sydney, and so suddenly his wife passed away. So he went to Sydney and attended to all her last rites and settled his daughter, and came back to Sri Lanka and then ordinated as Anuradhapura Amatadamma, though he is from Maharagama. And he knows a lot about our families and our area and the history and everything. He knows basically all the families in that area and all the information. So basically, you can contact him, ask Dr. Deepal Suryarachi to get the telephone number of Venerable Amatadhamma. So he will tell you the story that I was not that keen to keep a track because there are so many places associated with Ravana. So and some of the names clearly indicate it's Ravana because like Ravana Island and Ravana Goa or some there are so many names. Not that easy, but anybody interested will find it extremely useful exercise to get involved. So, uh, Legend of Ravana, you'll find if you start investigating, it's a true. It's not a fictitious story. And Sri Lankans kept on making this best steel, and you'll ask how they made a steel different to the steel made in India, and the reason is our people use the carbon from Devadara tree to adjust the carbon content in steels. Then they made a super steel, and even today they are trying their best to make a steel similar. They are unable, and that steel was all steel was in those days we needed only very little steel because we never used steel in buildings, so we need only little steel, and all that steel came from India and Sri Lanka, and it was sent to Damascus market via uh, Iraq, and you can see there's a small thin strip of ocean between Pakistan, all those countries, and Saudi Arabia. And then when you go through that, you can go to Iraq, and on land, you can the temperatures were lower. On land, you can easily take those to. It goes to Syria, and Syria had this big market called Damascus. So the steel sold in Damascus market were called Damascus steel, and Damascus steel was the best steel of the world. So we kept on doing that, and if you look at the carvings of Anuradhapura era, you can clearly see those carvings are superb, and only very sharp, very hard tools can make such carvings. And if you like to know more information about all this history associated with rocks, again you can contact Dr. Dimanta De Silva of Department of Civil Engineering, University of Maratua. He knows a lot about, he has done some work, and he knows a lot more about this stone technology than me. So you can contact him because I'm a big story guy, and you can get intricate details from Venerable Amatadhamma and Anuradhapura Amatadhamma, and also from Dr. Dimanta De Silva. Right. So, 9 months after enlightenment, Lord Buddha came to Sri Lanka, and he preached Buddhism. So, people of being an island, our people knew so many languages, and our main language was called Hela. So we had, so there was a person in that, in those people called Sumana, and Sumana attained the state, so on, and after his death, he became a legend or a god, basically. So, and then it was called God Sumana Saman. Then the main, and Sumana was given some bit of hair by Lord Buddha, and the first Dagaba of the world was built at Mahayangana while Lord Buddha was alive. And today, what you see is an enlarged version of that Dagaba. And if you go there, I have done so much work with Venerable Urlavatte Dhammaratana Thero, and we started working together in 2010. There were so many things to be done, and one day Urlavatte Dhammaratana Thero told me that, The reservoir in front of the river has been emptied by irrigation department, and he likes to create an artificial island. And Seema Malak here put the statue, everything. And I said, okay, fine, I'll do the foundations before they fill up. And I did the foundations, and then today when you go there, you can see a man-made island, and all those structures. The foundations are deep, at a deeper level, and all those are very effective, cost-effective foundations I made. So, and then rest is up to the, they were all other people involved. And then when you create an island, you have to go to the island. So I designed a bridge, and that bridge is 300 feet long and around 12 feet wide. And I told the priest how to construct it with precast unit, and it is all based on a research paper that we published in year 2000 on ISL. The main authors were Professor Chinta Jayasinghe, Professor M.T.R. Jayasinghe, and Professor Ashoka Perera. And it was presented by Professor Ashoka Perera, and one old engineer asked some nasty questions from Professor Ashoka Perera, and when Professor Ashoka Perera was thinking how to answer such nasty questions, that engineer humiliated him. But today you can see we were correct. We were correct because Professor Ashoka had to present it. He's more into management. He knows structural engineering well, but he's not a deep structural guy like Chinta or I. So basically, he had to think a little bit before answering. And that showed the character of our all engineers or senior engineers. They simply try to ridicule others without knowing what they are talking. And then later Professor Ratnayaka told me there was a little incident, and I think that all engineer would have got it wrong. How could you guys get things wrong, fundamentals of structural engineering wrong? And I'm sure it was the old guy. So basically, when you ridicule, I mean, we cannot win all the time, even if the answers are not given. Sometimes you'll find that, basically, it can boomerang against you. So basically, Professor Ashoka Perera supervised the PhD of Professor Chinta Jayasinghe, and they developed a wonderful solution, very cost-effective solution for a slab system. And today I have developed it to the level that we design it with high-strength concrete, and we go for very cost-effective systems. And once we adopt that system, we get a building design 20-story. Let's take an example: 20-story building designed by a top-class engineer for British Code, and we take it and we look at it, we optimize it, adopt this slab system, and optimize it fully. So that its foundation is optimized, its foundation is less piles, it's high strength piles, so piles are smaller, and the reinforcement is lower, and everything is low. And then finally, our design, our superior design with high strength concretes, according to the latest Eurocodes, will need only 2/3 of concrete, half steel, and 1/3 of shuttering. So we finish the building at 45% cost. So if the building is going to cost 2,000 million, we ensure we give a solution that will cost 900 million, and that is called value engineering. And my design team is the only one in the world that can do that type of advanced designs, and because my team is a super team. And when we say 1,100 million, my team gets 10% of that, or 110 million. So some of my team engineers have BMW 740s, Land Cruiser V8s, but these days they use only Toyota Corolla Axios because the situation is not good outside. So basically, we have to ask why Sri Lankans are so brilliant. And that is what I'm going to tell you in the next uh, presentation on history of Sri Lanka.